Good afternoon. This is an amazing occasion. I'm just standing here absorbing the sight. It's thrilling for me as governor to come out here and see the strength of our military, our National Guard, our installations that are represented here that add so much to the strength and defense of our nation. I'm delighted to be joined this morning by Congressman French Hill, who will be speaking a little bit later, as well as Director Mike Preston, Head of Economic Development. Major Barry, thank you for your leadership in joining us today as well. I wanted to make some brief comments and an announcement today. First of all, I wanted to talk about the importance of our military institutions and installations here in Arkansas. Obviously, as governor, it's significant that our military installations altogether contribute over $1 billion to our state economy. But just as significantly, or more significantly, is the fact that our military installations here are critical to our national defense. We recognize that in Arkansas, I recognize that, but we need to broadcast that message more. In terms of the importance of our military installations, you look at Little Rock Air Force Base. The local economic impact is $813 million. Fourth largest employer in the state of Arkansas. Over 8,000 airmen, 1,500 civilian employees, 3,400 indirect jobs, average pay $42,000. 57,000 retirees in Arkansas utilize Little Rock Air Force Base services. You go on up to my old neck of the woods in Fort Smith. Fort Chaffee is the home of Army's exportable combat training. 2,000 hotel rooms are utilized by those services that are being trained there as they come each year. 4,500 soldiers, 3 weeks of training, $14 million in impact. Pine Bluff Arsenal. I recently toured that. I know Congressman French Hill has been there as well. And it's the only remaining U.S. Army active installation in this state. It is an industrial facility that manufactures specialized ammunition, critical to our national defense. Over 700 employees, $60 million in annual payroll, $23 million procurement impact from that installation. You go back to Fort Smith to the 188th Fighter Wing, over 1,000 service members, has an incredible ISR mission, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. It has the Razorback Range, which I recall in years past going down in San Antonio and bragging about the uniqueness of the Razorback Range. It adds $66 million in economic impact from the 188th Fighter Wing each year. $87,000 average salary for those that are participating there at the fighter wing. And then the Arkansas National Guard, with all of its installations, with its unique capacity and the contribution that they make both in the national defense posture, in terms of their deployments, in terms of their economic impact. All of these military installations that I have recited are again important to our economic future in Arkansas, but also critically important to our nation's defense. Up until now, there has been no statewide initiative or organization that has supported our military installations. We need one. We need to do more as a state to signal our support and to put tangible results behind our community support and state support for our military installations. And so I'm pleased today to announce that I am forming the Governor's Military Affairs Steering Committee. This will be housed in the Arkansas Economic Development. I think it is very appropriate that it is in that agency. And this Military Affairs Steering Committee will have the purpose of supporting our military installations. It will be a public-private partnership where we're putting public resources and leadership behind this effort, utilizing our community support and our private sector support to showcase what our military installations do in Arkansas, generate more community and state support, and hopefully to bring more missions and expanded missions to these installations. As Mike Preston knows, and anyone in economic development, the first opportunity for growth is that within our own industry, and in this case, military installations that are located in this state. I'm pleased to announce the personnel or the names of the steering committee. I've asked Brad Hegeman, President of Nabholz Construction Service, to be chairman of the committee. Brad, would you stand, please? Go ahead and give him a round of applause. Brad not only is busy in the private sector, but he has also served with the Arkansas National Guard Association and the Little Rock Air Force Base Community Council. Other members of the steering committee will be Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin. I called him today. I said, with your background in Congress, with your background in the military, the services, understanding of their military installations, he needs to be a part of this steering committee. Major General retired William Wofford, Adjutant General, will be representing the Arkansas National Guard on the steering committee. Larry Wilson of the Little Rock Air Force Base Community Council, Lou Ann Nisbet, Economic Development Alliance of Jefferson County, obviously to support the Pine Bluff Arsenal and its mission. Tim Allen, President and CEO of Fort Smith Regional Chamber of Commerce, will be on the steering committee. Jan Gaddis Bird, Vice President of Commercial Lending, First National Bank of Fort Smith. Mike Preston, who will speak later, Economic Development Executive Director. Danny Gaines, Deputy Director at AEDC. And then Ken Griffin, who is a former member of the 188th Fighter Wing, but also my liaison to the military and veterans community, will be participating on that steering committee as well. Finally, it's important to add credibility to our effort. And so I'm announcing today not only the formation of the steering committee, but my commitment and dedication of $400,000 to the committee to kick it off, to get it started, to make sure it has the resources necessary to do the job in terms of support of our installations. As time goes on, I expect this steering committee to do a couple of things. One, they're going to look at how are we closely tied in our private sector, in our community support for the military installation. What more can we do? Are there more needs there? Is there some infrastructure need? Do they have the access that they need? What more recommendations will they make that we can support our installations better? Secondly, I expect them to do a more up-to-date economic analysis so that we can make sure everyone knows how much this impacts our state and that we are contributing to these installations in terms of our own community support. And finally, we hope to expand missions. I know that Major General Berry is working hard for a cybersecurity unit here at Camp Robinson at the Arkansas National Guard. He's talked to me about it. He wants to be able to achieve additional missions. We want to be able to support the expansion and protection of our existing missions. So these are some of the objectives. I salute you, all the men and women who are standing and who are working day by day to defend our country. Thank you for what you do. God bless your efforts, and we want to support you more. With that, I'd like to recognize Mike Preston for him to comment and explain how AEDC fits into this picture.
Thank you, Governor. It's fantastic to be here, and I say it's kind of humbling to look out and see all these men and women. Well, it's what a fantastic turnout. What an incredible facility that's here, and the backdrop with the helicopters and the vehicles. It's incredible. I do want to recognize and thank our legislators who are here, the senators, representatives, and then the members from the congressional delegation, from their staffs who are here, and then have a lot of folks from AEDC too that I want to welcome and thank for their help and support in getting this together. At AEDC, our mission is to create economic opportunity by attracting higher paying jobs, expanding and diversifying our state and local economies, increasing incomes and investment, and generating positive growth throughout Arkansas. One of the ways we will achieve this mission is by ensuring our state's military installations are thriving, which is why I'm here, why we are proud to partner and participate in this initiative of the governor. In fact, one of the first conversations that the governor and I had after I accepted this position was about our military and our installations, and we talked about Camp Robinson, we talked about Fort Chaffee and the Pine Bluff Arsenal. And we got to use these as economic development drivers. They're anchors in our community. How can we better support them? And we as a state, we're not doing a good job of offering that support. So Governor asked us to sit down with his office, who did an incredible job, and Ken Griffin and his team to come together and let's figure out how we work this out. And very early on in the process, we realized, this is bigger than a state agency. This has to be a public-private partnership. We have to have businesses at the table. We have to have the congressional delegation at the table, and then we have to have the leaders of the military at the table as well. So this is a perfect example of a public-private partnership coming together, working for a common cause, a common good, and I think you're going to see us really even starting today, rolling up our sleeves and supporting our military installations. The governor touched on a little bit about the military impact of the state, so I won't go into the details of that, but in addition to being a part of the steering committee, the staffing efforts are going to be housed at AEDC. Becky Reinhardt, Steve Sparks, and their team have done a great job of kind of facilitating and being our staff, eyes and ears on the ground, and they're going to continue to support this, and not only as supporting this initiative and supporting the committee, but also being more proactive when it comes to business recruitment around military installations. So our job as economic developers is identifying opportunities that suppliers and people that are working with the military, that we can make sure that we have them here in Arkansas and they're not having to truck their products clear across the country, but let's have a facility right here in Arkansas. So at AEDC, we also emphasize teamwork. If we want our military installations to thrive, it's going to take all of us to get the job done, which is why we are part of a cohesive effort including the governor's office, the congressional delegation, state legislators, local officials, business leaders, and Arkansas citizens. Public-private partnerships, I can't stress this enough. We're so excited about this opportunity. This is going to tie into, as I said, the mission of AEDC, a mission of growing jobs, supporting our economy. Arkansas is very fortunate to have a governor that truly understands economic development. With the governor's support, AEDC has already signed agreements with 64 companies since he took office in January. These companies are expected to create 2,200 new jobs while investing more than $1.3 billion in our state. And these new jobs pay an average hourly wage of $20.24. While many companies have located in Arkansas or expanded existing operations in 2015, Governor Hutchinson's commitment to economic development goes past working with these new and expanding companies. By being here today and starting this initiative, he shows the effort and the emphasis on what it takes to continue to grow that economy and all facets of the economy, including the military. The creation of this initiative is an example of how we're going to make Arkansas stronger, both on the military aspect, but then as a business and economic driver. We're excited to be a part of this team. We look forward to the efforts it's going to have. I know we're going to have some exciting results from the steering committee of where we're going to go in the future, how we're going to be able to make this work. And with that said, I should probably stop talking so we can really get down to work, roll up our sleeves, and make this happen. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Governor.
Brad, you're going to be chairman of this effort. I think you ought to come up and introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about what you're going to do very briefly.
Thank you, Brad. Well, good afternoon. What an absolutely great day for the state of Arkansas. And I want to add my thanks to each and every one of you that are wearing the uniform. There is nothing we can do or say that can adequately express our gratitude for the service that you do to our country. And so therefore, thank you very much. I also want to thank the governor for his vision and his commitment to establishing this committee and to setting the state on the course to enhance our military partnerships throughout the state. And Congressman, thank you for being here and for his unwavering support for our military. Now, given the current fiscal constraints facing our country, the Department of Defense continues to look for ways to reduce cost and increase operational efficiencies. Whether this is through the P4 initiative, enhanced use leases, consolidations, force structure realignments, or other methods, the state of Arkansas must take proactive steps to retain our installations and their missions. We're very fortunate to have wonderful installations and missions located throughout the state at Little Rock Air Force Base, the 188th in Fort Smith, here at Camp Robinson, and at Pine Bluff Arsenal. The establishment of the Governor's Military Affairs Committee will allow the state to proactively and strategically evaluate each installation and community and develop plans to strengthen partnerships between all local, state, and federal stakeholders. The ability to address future base infrastructure needs, encroachment around these installations and training ranges, and many other issues is an absolute essential element in our ability to not only preserve and retain these missions, but to position the state of Arkansas to be the logical choice for future missions and other growth opportunities. By unifying our efforts across the state, Arkansas will be stronger and better positioned to weather DoD consolidations and reductions while enhancing the tremendous economic impact these installations have on the local community and our entire state. So, Governor, on behalf of the steering committee, thank you for this opportunity. We look forward to working with you to retain and grow the military presence throughout Arkansas. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. And lastly, but very significantly, I wanted to introduce Congressman French Hill. French Hill came to my office a number of months ago and encouraged me to go visit the Pine Bluff Arsenal. He said we really need to do a lot more as a state to support our military installations. So French, you get a lot of credit for stimulating this discussion and recognizing how critical our military installations are. So French, come on up and please welcome French Hill.
I keep on my desk at home a picture of my grandfather in his Army uniform over here at Camp Pike in the American Expeditionary Force headed to France in 1917. So anytime I have a chance to be back here on this hallowed ground, I'm happy to do it. And it's an honor to be with all of our men and women in uniform, and General Berry and Governor, thank you so much for your leadership in our state. What you're witnessing today is exactly what I think our taxpayers, our men and women in uniform want, which is outstanding planning and getting out in front of where the world's going to take us. And so I commend Governor Hutchinson so much for planning this commission to help guide the strategic planning for our military installations in the state. It's going to be essential in the years ahead because, as been referenced, we're under unprecedented assaults on the size, force projection, strength, and capability of our military. And those assaults are not overseas, but in the budget fights in Washington, D.C. And I want you to know my personal commitment that we will not send our men and women in uniform into harm's way without the right training, the right equipment, the right mission, and the right empowerment on the battlefield as to their discretion. And all that starts right here at Camp Robinson, Little Rock Air Force Base, Fort Chaffee. And we got to have weapons that work, so we count that work down at Pine Bluff Arsenal to make sure that when you shoot that flare that it goes off. So again, this is an exercise in leadership, and I want to tip my hat to the governor. What we'll do in the congressional delegation, and we have an outstanding congressional delegation that I'm humbled to be part of, is we'll take every step that we can to give our men and women the resources it takes to carry out the mission to protect and defend this country. That's our number one obligation under the Constitution. Proud to be with you here today. General Berry, go get him.
Thank you, French. And before I turned over for questions, I also wanted to acknowledge our members of the General Assembly that are here. They do a great job in supporting all of the initiatives in our state in terms of our military installations as well as our veterans. So thank you. And with that, let me turn it over for any questions you might have. This will be my discretionary funds as governor, so it'll be my general improvement funds that I'll be designating for this purpose.
We recently went through the real competitive JLTV project. Could this kind of meeting have helped us in that process? Do you think that
That's actually an excellent question. I do think they fit together. We talk about Arkansas's aero defense industry, and that's primarily private sector driven, but there is a connection to the military installations. And so you see the states that are strong in terms of its aero defense industry, they're also have a strong role in terms of their military installations. So there is a connection there. It's not simply based in the connections in Arkansas, but I think there is a tie-in. And for example, Lockheed Martin, the fact that the state of Arkansas is willing to step up and say, we're going to support this Defense Department initiative, then that caught the attention of the Department of Defense, those in the military contracting arena, and really put Arkansas a step up in terms of our initiative. Even though we didn't get that ultimately through Lockheed Martin, I think it did send a signal that we're here to do business and to support our military.
So what is the impetus behind this? Is this a campaign promise? Is this to guard the state, better protect the state against future military cuts? Is it in response to losing out that project down at Camden? Or is it all of it?
Well, of those things you mentioned, I can eliminate two. This was not in response to the Camden Lockheed Martin initiative, and it has nothing to do with the campaign because I didn't bring this specific initiative up. But it does have something to do with support for our military installations. It has all to do with that, and potential expansion of mission as well as protection of the existing missions. And I thought Congressman Hill was very clear that this is a world of defense budget shrinking right now. Brad was making the point about the efficiencies that are expected in our military installations. And so the Department of Defense are looking at those states that are good partners. If we're not a good partner and we're not supporting our military installations, that's a downgrade. And so we can be more competitive when they're in the arena supporting our military installations and having this type of initiative. And so, Mike, this is one of those things that, good ideas come up while you're governor. French Hill brought this to me. We talked to AEDC. Mike Preston has some experience in Florida in terms of military installations. So all of that combined together resulted in this initiative today. And of course, my commitment to put $400,000 into the effort gives it the impetus to really be effective. And Brad, you've recognized this. He's been an advocate for it as well. And so you've got all of that combined, a recognition, public and private. This is what we need to do as a state. I don't let it simmer. We did it. Yes, sir.
After the initial $400,000, how is this going to be funded beyond that?
Well, all of this is one-time funding. This is not recurring funding that has to be placed into the general revenue budget. And so we're initially starting with $400,000. We may have a steering committee that comes back and says we need to have, another $600,000 for an infrastructure improvement at one of our installations. And I might look at them and say, well, how about the local community funding half of that and the state funding half of that? And so we don't know what recommendations the steering committee will come back with as to what the needs are there, and then we will develop the future budget based upon that. If we have to add additional funds, we'll take a look at that and see if we can scrape up the dollars to do it. The main message is we are committed to support our military installations. We will find the tools necessary to get that done and the resources here in Arkansas.
Governor, just a little off topic. The federal government says they're going to start accepting Syrian refugees. As governor, would you be open to accepting those refugees here, and has there been any talk of that?
There's been no talk about any unique role that Arkansas would play. So I don't know enough about the initiative to respond to it at this point. It's my understanding that the executive branch has some flexibility in terms of refugee population, and this is generally considered in terms of asylum. I have a little bit of background in Homeland Security on those asylum issues, and so this is something that usually we absorb in terms of our and we don't have to have a specific installation or location that they are designated toward. One thing is significant in the Vice President's comments was that he wanted to make sure we had the capacity for background checks for those that might be coming in. And so there's a process to work through. Let's wait and get more information. All right, with that, is there one final question? If not, thank you all very much. Appreciate it.